everybody. This is the Comedy Time Capsule, and today Cheryl Anderson joins me. Hello, Cheryl. How are you?
Hi, doing great, thanks.
And Cheryl, we are just going to get into it. Can you say a little bit about how long you've been doing comedy and a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I started about 12 years ago. I didn't really start like seriously traveling and stuff until my youngest was out of school. So that would have been in 2012. So I started in Sacramento, just like going out to open mics. And like I do a joke that my husband thinks I'm at Target, but I really said I was going to Target. And I just started going to, because I didn't want anybody to know what I was doing because I was so bad and so nervous at the beginning. So I started doing Sacramento and then just kind of staying close to home until, like I said, until my daughter was older, because I wanted to be home for her, concerts and stuff. And then I started traveling. So it's been about 12 years and maybe like 8 years more serious.
And so is that how you make a living right now?
Well, it was.
It was. Right.
I was making enough to finance my traveling and, and a little bit extra. Actually, this spring was going to be really good. This was about the best that I'd been doing. I had every weekend was booked. I applied to a whole bunch of festivals because I was having bad luck with festivals. So I just applied to a whole bunch of them and then I got into them. And so I did most of those. I did Paris, Texas, which was really fun. And I did the Bay Area Black Comedy Competition and San Luis Obispo. And then I was supposed to go to Anchorage, Alaska, the Alaska Before You Die Festival. And then I was supposed to go to Norway this week. But I had a bunch of like corporate stuff booked too. That was really that's what was financing everything. Yeah. So, and that of course all fell through. At first, it was like, well, maybe these are still gonna happen. It was kind of like up in the air. And my contract said that they pay me either way, but then it was for charities. So I didn't want to, because the fundraisers, that's how they make all their money, so if they couldn't do that. So I just kind of I just like cut my losses. And I was out in California when this all kind of started. And I just thought, I'm just going to just pack everything in the car and start driving home and hope I can make it and hope for the best. So.
And so you drove from Sacramento to...
Well, I was in, the last show we did was in Half Moon Bay. It was at the Hop Dogma Brewery in Half Moon Bay. That was my last show. Yeah, and just drove back.
And what day was that? Do you remember your last show?
March,
was that March 20th or something?
12th? Yeah, that sounds right. Because I was supposed to be in Santa Cruz that next weekend at DNA's Comedy Lab. And that was the day when people were just like, yeah, we probably are going to just shut. It was before things were like officially shut down, but people were just shutting down on their own.
Yeah. So, well, before we get into other stuff, do you have anything you would like to plug? Your website, any series that you do, any social media stuff?
I do. So I'm on YouTube. I'm Cheryl the Soccer Mom. That's my YouTube / Cheryl the Soccer Mom. Everything else, I'm just Cheryl Soccer Mom. Cheryl CHERYL. And so that's Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I did one TikTok. My daughter said, like, Mom, TikTok's the next big thing. You should do TikTok too. I feel like as soon as the old people get into every platform, that's like what shuts it down. So like, I'm coming for you, TikTok.
Once you're on it, then it's done.
Yep.
Yeah. That's how it is. So tell me, what made you get into comedy?
So I was an engineer originally. And then when the kids were little, I started working at home because the same week that our youngest daughter was born, our oldest daughter, who was about 7.5, was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. So that's when I decided I'm just going to stay at home and try to find something to do at home. And that's when the internet was kind of new. So I thought, oh, I'll make websites for, like, I did the first website for the city of Folsom. Like, I had to go around to people and be like, you should have a website for your business. And they're like, a website? What's that? So I kind of, I'd explain it, and then I made websites, and then I started writing about that whole experience of being a working mom to being a work at home mom and running a home business and raising the kids. And I made a website of that, and that's what just kind of took off. So I ended up doing that for about 13 years. I wrote a couple books, and, so I was writing like kind of funny-ish columns and stuff, and just stories about just all the craziness of being at home. And then when I sold my website, that did pretty well. And so I had like some freedom to do something else. And I've always really, really loved stand-up, but I was really afraid. I had really bad stage fright, and I was afraid to try it. But I went out to some open mics and just watched a bunch, and I talked to some of the local comics in Sacramento, and I said, I think I'm just too different for all this. And they're like, no, different's good. So I gave it a try and just kept going out, and I wanted to get over that stage fright too, and the first thing I did was I went to a workshop for humor writing, and they gave us a chance to get on stage, and I got a big laugh, and I was just like, oh my goodness, that feels amazing. I'm going to do this again. So that's what really got me to keep going. But yeah, Sacramento was a good place to start, I think. It's very diverse population, and there's been a lot of really good comics that have come out of Sacramento. I'm not saying I'm a really good comic, but other people that have come out of Sacramento have been, there's a lot of really good comics.
And well, you already mentioned that you were going to be in the Black comedy competition, and diversity has helped you. You're a white lady from Minnesota, so I can't not talk about that. So what do you mean by all of that? And how has that extended your voice to be in rooms where you might be the only white person?
Yeah, that's how Bay Area Black Comedy Competition was. And I think in Sacramento, I think because it's so diverse, that you kind of have to figure out how to work with all different kinds of audiences, and you can't just have, you just to be able to just to understand like different dynamics, I guess, in different kinds of rooms. And when I first started, it was a little bit hard for me to get stage time in kind of the regular mainstream clubs. But the Black clubs were very welcoming. They're like, yeah, we'll give you time. Anybody that wanted to, they just were like, come and get on stage. So that was where I did most of my first mics, was like at Touch of Class down in South Sacramento and places like that. So, yeah. And it's just, I'll get on stage anywhere. I don't care.
Yeah. No. Yeah. And so you said that the mainstream clubs were a little less accessible. Can you say more about that?
Well, I think because, that's how I got started. That's why I'm Cheryl the soccer mom, because they just called me the soccer mom, because nobody could remember my name. So I'd roll up in my minivan and, be like, hi, I want to tell jokes. And they'd be like, really? So yeah, it was a little bit harder, but mostly though, the Sacramento comics were really, really welcoming overall. So, and then once I kind of figured out how to be funny, how to do it, I feel like I had jokes at the beginning, but it just figuring out how not to be so nervous and how to just be on stage, that took some time.
Okay. And what was your process before all of this for coming up with new material and honing it?
I wish I had a system. I wish I had an answer for that. I don't know. It's hard. I write like every day, but I've been trying to get, while this lockdown has been on, I've been trying to get a minute a week. I've been pretending that I'm a regular on Kill Tony, the Kill Tony podcast. They have regulars who have to do a new minute every week. So I've been pretending that I have to do that. So I've really been trying, because the worst thing I think would be to come out of, what if you're locked down for 2 months and you don't have any new jokes out of it, you know? So yeah, I'm trying to write. I write every day, but without being able to try it out on stage, that's the hardest thing.
And why is that?
Well, because I'll think like, oh, that's funny. And then I'll get on stage and say it and I'll be like, guess not. You know, it doesn't always translate. And then sometimes too, like you just have to figure out the timing, like where the laughs are, and you just have to have an audience. It's hard to do it without. I've just been recording kind of silly videos that I've been thinking about doing for a long time, and now I just have nothing but time, and putting pictures on Instagram. And I've always been really like I overthink anything I do, like, oh, people are gonna be mean to me on the internet. Now I just like, I don't care, I'm just putting it out there. So we'll see what happens.
And can we talk about that for a sec? Because I think that is something that a lot of people are challenged by, putting their work out, whether they're comics or musicians, that someone's going to be mean to them. How did you get past that?
Well, I guess I can't say I'm really past it. I'm better than I was. I don't know if you know David Goggins. I think I read his book. It's called Can't Hurt Me, I think. I don't know. I'll look it up. If that's wrong, I'll send you a message. But his thing is like to put calluses in your brain, like instead of avoiding comments, to seek them out and to just go ahead and read them and be like, oh, well, I read that. The ceiling didn't fall down. I'm fine. And you're not going to hurt me. And also the idea that don't take criticism from somebody that's not out there doing it. Like, okay, it's really easy to sit in your basement and be mean to people that when you're anonymous, but you're not doing anything. So, just, yeah. So I think mostly it's just the idea of, oh, so people are mean, big deal.
Yeah, that's great. Those are two very good things. Glad I asked that. What was your favorite part about doing comedy and your least favorite part?
Oh, favorite part. I used to say, oh, it's the making people laugh and the joy of laughter and all that, which is great. But I think when I really get down to it, I think it's more of the control, that when I'm on stage with a mic, I have total control. And I know when I look out at people, like I know when I have a punchline coming up that's going to get them, and I can put my words out there and I get a physical reaction from just saying my words. It's amazing. I just love that feeling. So I think if I'm honest, that it's the control that I really like. Yeah. And the least favorite thing? Oh, I really like stand-up, and I really like people. I like meeting people. I'm not comfortable, like usually, like just one-on-one talking, like after a show, but I really like meeting people, and I love it when people come up after shows and say like, oh, I was having a bad day and now I feel better. This is just what I needed, hugging. I was just thinking about that today. Do you think we're ever going to be like, can you imagine just grabbing a stranger's hand?
I know. I have no idea how we're going to do anything.
Yeah. Because I miss that, but I don't know if we're ever going to be like that again, or if it's going to be a while. But yeah, so that's not a good answer. What's my least favorite thing? I guess just dealing with like the details, like trying to get bookings and schedule and reaching out to clubs and doing all that kind of stuff. I would love to have a manager take care of all that stuff for me.
Your husband won't do it for you?
Well, I guess if I was making enough money that I could hire him, yeah, but we're not to that point yet.
Yeah. Let's see here. I lost it. What do you miss most about doing comedy? Is it the people part? Is it the controlling the room part, or is it something else?
Yeah, doing the shows, just being on stage and doing, it's just it's my favorite thing. I just love doing shows. So yeah, I miss that.
Have you done any shows online, and what has that been like?
I haven't. I've been asked to, and I just don't see. I get. I don't know if I'm afraid to do it, or I feels like it just isn't going to work. But I've talked to people who've done it, and they said it was great. So I'm going to give it a try. A friend of mine asked me to do one, and I said I would, but I've got like a couple weeks to prepare. And then I'm also doing a thing. There's there's an Orange County moms group that asked me to do like not really like a performance, but more like just talking and, because I've got experience about being cooped up with kids and
Right.
like mom stories. So I'm going to do that. But yeah, otherwise, no. Have you done shows, Zoom shows?
I have. I've done like two or three, and to me, it's not a great substitute.
Yeah.
Um, and it's a part that I think I miss. I mean, I miss the performative part. I miss the writing part. I miss all that. And I don't think I can substitute that online. But I know I can get a little bit more from the relationship part, because for me, I love the relationship with the audience, the relationship with the comics, and that's why we're doing this now. That is my substitution there. And and just feeling like totally blocked into doing any kind of writing, because I'm going to hold on to it for 6 months, for a year, for a month, and
Yeah.
not do anything. Like,
I know.
so
Yeah. Yeah, I miss that. I miss talking to comics. I miss like hearing what they're doing and what they've got coming up and shows and yeah. But even if I was talking, even if I was out talking to the comics, nobody has anything that's going on really. So
yeah.
I don't know.
No, I know. It's weird. And so that kind of brings us to the next question, which is, how are you coping with this, whether financially, creatively, psychologically, being quarantined, the fears out there?
Yeah. I feel kind of bad about it because I know a lot of people are having a really hard time, but I like being alone. I'm fine with that as long as I have the internet and I crochet a lot. I've got Netflix. My husband is essential, so he's still at work every day, and I it's we're not spending any money because I'm not going out. I don't have to pay for parking or gas or restaurants or hotels or anything. So we're doing all right.
Yeah. And so you're good there. What about like, and you said creatively, you haven't been doing the shows and stuff like that, but you're trying to do that one minute a day. Are you trying to do that in the morning, or does it just happen? How do you come up with that stuff?
Yeah, all different times. I did the morning pages, do you know that morning pages, the creative?
I think you told me about it the last time that I saw you.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
maybe Julie Cameron. I'll look that up too. Anyway, I kind of do that for a while and then I fall off. Like you write just like free form writing every morning just to like get so I started out doing that and then I always fall off, but I'm going to try that again now that I remind myself of it. But no, just not really any times. I'm taking classes. I'm taking classes online too. And I'm brushing up on my programming skills because like I said, who knows how long this is going to last. So I'm kind of starting to look for a regular job just to get through this time that I could do. And I could do that remotely too. So I do that every day. And I feel the time's going pretty fast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're in this a month at this point, a little over a month.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I thought like, oh, I'm going to clean up my closet. But then I'm like, I've got plenty of time to do that. I'll do that tomorrow. So I'm still procrastinating.
Yeah, no, it's amazing how much the first week I got so much done.
Yeah.
No, not anymore. So,
Yeah. I started
um,
some sourdough starter. I made some cookies this weekend. Doing a lot more cooking.
so, I know I'm forced to do that now. So, let's see here. Ask that. How do you think all of this is going to change the landscape of comedy? And we were talking about it a little bit earlier in terms of like handshaking and hugging, but how do you think that's going to boil down into comedy and how we perform it, where we perform it, all that?
Yeah. Well, it doesn't, it feels like the first mics when everybody's back out again is just going to be all coronavirus jokes and Tiger King jokes. And, it seems like everybody's going to be talking about the same thing, because that's how you get material. Is you go out, you live your life, and you go do things and you go places, but we've all been doing exactly the same thing pretty much, so I don't know. It feels like at first the jokes are going to be very similar. That's what I've been trying to do, kind of challenging myself to do something that's not related to what's going on.
Mm.
And I just can't see like a big 1,000-person, 1,500-seat theater being filled with people. And that's kind of the deal too with comedy, right? That everybody's packed in real close together. And, that's how you get in a dark place that's how you get good laughs. And if everybody is spread out, it seems like it's going to hurt the whole environment of a comedy show. But yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Do you think it'll change our sensibilities of what we think is funny? And what you said that I never really heard anyone else say is that, like, to me, what has been interesting is we all have this same experience, and that same experience kind of bonds us and ties us, and we have that one thing all around the world. I was talking to a comic yesterday in India, and very much similar experiences. And so we have that. But then there's also that lack of diversity in people's experiences. And like, how many Corona jokes can you hear? And there's, unless you bring something new to the table around it, it's all gonna be the same joke. But how do you think, like, I was like, the reason why I started this was I was thinking, how is this going to change our sense of humor in the world? Because, like, after Black Plague, was there, like, were, like, people really going dark then, like, what came out of that in terms of creativity and sense of humor? And because stand-up is so new, like, it's new in the US by like 100 years, and even less if you start from Lenny Bruce. But in India, it's like 20 years old, 10 years old.
Yeah.
And so this is the first time we've really gone through this as an art form. But I'm getting off on a whole tangent there. But how do you think sense of humor is going to change, or will it?
Yeah, that's interesting. Because like after 9/11, people were like, well, this is going to change, and that was on a smaller scale. But I think, like, people, it doesn't feel like that really changed how humor happened, or how shows what we found funny. Boy, it's just so hard to know, because we've never been through anything like this before.
Mm-hmm.
I think there might, at first I thought there's going to be fewer comics and fewer shows, but I think people are going to be really starved for entertainment and in-person live entertainment. If we're able to get out and do that again, I think people are going to really want to, but whether or not people are going to actually go out and consume, and go to shows, I don't know. But I think I don't know that it's really going to change our sense of humor that much, because I think people are just going to really want to laugh. So if, as fun is something's funny, I think they're just going to really want to laugh.
What has the quarantine taught you about the art or the business of stand-up comedy?
Oh boy, just how fragile it is, that it can just go away like that, Because like I said, I thought, oh, this spring, here I go. Finally, I'm getting some traction. I'm going to start making some decent money, and this is going to be amazing. I'm going to travel all over the world, and then poof, it's over. So yeah, it's very fragile, and I should have a backup plan. So that's what I'm working on, my backup plan right now. Yeah, and just the kind of randomness and, insecurity really of how we think we make plans and have a whole plan set out and a timeline and a schedule, and then we don't. So it's very fragile. Too, I've been so impressed with how creative people are, that they're just out on their own and doing, making content and videos, and so they can't be in front of an audience, but they're writing, they're still doing it. It's just so impressive how really creative people are. So it's kind of a new way to consume humor too. And people are just figuring it out as we go along.
Do you think that will change anything in the future for stand-up? Like there will be more of an internet or online presence, anything like that?
Yeah, maybe. Because there's like YouTube people who have become really popular on YouTube, and then they come to a regular comedy club and sell it out. And they really don't do stand-up, but they're just kind of YouTube personalities. So there are people that are creating that cult of personality, I guess, while this is going on, that they're going to come out and people are going to probably want to meet them in real life. So maybe they're going to kind of take over whatever shows are going on.
No, and that has been my prediction. And that's going to suck for us who actually have an act.
Right.
Someone on YouTube gets up, wacka wacka, and they're good for 10 minutes, and then they have to carry everything for an hour.
Yeah.
And they need a lot of money, and we've been in it for 10, 12 years.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I don't know. But, if that's what people want, what are you going to do?
What are you going to do? Exactly. Yeah. Is there anything that I haven't asked you about that you think I should ask, or anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, I don't think so.
Anything to plug?
Just all my social media, no shows coming up, but my Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, YouTube. I'm an elder on Elders React on the Fine Brothers Entertainment. I'm one of their elders on their Elders React. So, and they've been creating content. They're doing remote. They have the people, because usually we go into the studios, but they're just having people record from their homes. So I'm still doing those.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for spending some time with me. I really enjoyed my time in Minnesota with you.
Oh, yeah.
And made the trip being with you and doing stuff and engaging in that comedy thing that now we can't do. Like now, like that can never happen right now. So I'm very thankful to that time that I had. So thank you for this and thank you for that.
Yeah. So good to see you.
Good to see you. And your hair looks great. Your hair looks really good.
Oh, thanks. It's getting long.